Hello, 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 and welcome into episode 6 of At the Helm with your host, Justin Helms. And I recorded this podcast kind of weird. I had to record the segment with my dad yesterday, which is mostly about Alabama. So that's going to be the second segment. Right now, I'm recording the first segment. So I recorded it out of order, but when I post them, I'm still going to post it in order. So we're going to have this one first, the segment with my dad, which is mostly about Alabama, review and preview of what's going on in the biggest game of this weekend rather. And then our last one is rankings. And then I'm going to film the week 7 picks and give you guys a little bit of back information on why I chose those teams right after this episode. So that's why, and the only reason I say that is because when you guys are watching the episode, you're going to see I got a haircut today. I got it this morning. So when you watch the first part of this episode is haircut Justin. Second part with my dad is no haircut Justin. And then the rankings is also no haircut. But then my week 7 picks, I'm going to have a haircut. So it's it's going to look weird how I'm switching back and forth. But y'all like my cut though? I'm fresh, but ignore that. That was cringy. We're going to get straight into it. First, I always do this. What did we learn? And I won't lie, it took me a long time to find a what did we learn this week. I just couldn't think of anything, and I have an SEC bias. I'm looking for stuff SEC or Big Ten, mostly those conferences, or just top teams in general to talk about them. But I wanted to talk about a team from the Pac-12 that I really haven't mentioned that much. I know we've talked about USC a little bit. We mentioned Oregon a tiny bit and Utah. I even gave Washington their love at one point. But I want to talk about a team that actually beat Washington. And what I want to say is what I learned this week is that Chip Kelly is one of those coaches that is just meant for college football. And we all know what I'm talking about. There's a lot of coaches that have went to the NFL, tried it out. It didn't work out. The Harbaugh brother that's at Michigan right now, I always get him mixed up, Jim or John, whichever one that is. Nick Saban went to the NFL, tried it with the Dolphins. It didn't really work out for him. We also saw Matt Rule, he just got fired. It didn't really work out for him either. There's a lot of coaches who try to make that jump to the NFL level, and it just doesn't go right. Lane Kiffin, another one. He was with the Raiders. A lot of people don't remember that because it just wasn't good. So there's a lot of guys who try to make that jump. They're not able to do it. Shout out to the guys that do, guys like Pete Carroll, guys like Jimmy Johnson who made that jump from Miami over to the Cowboys, two of the biggest teams at the time. But there's a lot of guys who can't, and they come back to the college level, and they realize that this is just the area that's meant for them. And Chip Kelly, I think, is one of those coaches that found out that this area is meant for him. He was hired as the offensive coordinator in Oregon in 2008, and he left in 2012. In that span, there was not a single season that they lost over 3 games, and not a single season that they won under 10 games. So they had at least 10 wins a season when he was the offensive coordinator for I think it was 3 years, 2008 to 2010 or something like that. And then after that, he was the head coach 2010 to 2012. He left in 2012. And then even the 2 years after, 2013 and 2014, when they still had Chip Kelly recruited classes at Oregon, they were still doing well and competing then, going to bowl championships, and even in the playoff in that first year in 2014 against Jameis Winston. So overall, I have to give my credit to Chip Kelly and what he's been able to do as a coach at Oregon. He went to the Eagles. It didn't really work out. He came to UCLA, and since then, UCLA, he's been there since 2018. They had a terrible team in 2018. Everyone knew that their team was not going to be very good just due to the roster that they had that he had inherited from the guy before him. 2019, he improved. 2018, he went 3-8. 2019, he improved. He got the team to go 2018, they went 3-9. 2019, he got the team to go 4-8. So he improved by 1 win. 2020, very inconsistent year. We all know what happened. UCLA only played 7 games that season. They went 3-4 in those 7 games. But then when he was able to regroup, get his team fully back together, 2021, 8-4, and now this year they're 6-0, coming off of 2 wins against ranked opponents back to back in Washington and then Utah, and they're having an undefeated season so far. So I just have to give my credit to Chip Kelly and say that I learned that he is a coach that is meant for college football, and it looks like he might continue to make this team better and make them a contender once again, which I would absolutely love. I almost made this, what did I learn this week, was that the USC and UCLA rivalry are back. But I'll save that for when that rivalry week happens to hype it up a little bit more, because I think that might be one of the bigger rivalries this season other than Michigan and Ohio State, because Alabama-Auburn's not anything right now. Oklahoma and Texas, we just watched that. Texas beat up on Oklahoma. So there's not like a lot of the big rivalries that we've seen in years past and even decades past aren't really big this year other than Ohio State, Michigan. And then it looks like USC and UCLA are going to meet up undefeated, and I'm going to absolutely love that game. But like I said, UCLA is coming off. They undefeated right now, handled most of their games pretty well, except for South Alabama, where they struggled a little bit. They started off this season playing a lot of not-so-great teams. Alabama State, they had Colorado in there, if I remember right, too. They had whooped most of those teams, putting up 45 points and not allowing more than 14. They struggled a lot against South Alabama. They pulled that one out 38-35. But then they came against Washington, took care of business, got that game out of the way. And I'm going to pull up the score to that right here, if I can get it. They got that game out of the way. And then they went and played Utah right after. So they played two of what you could argue top quarterbacks in college football right now. You play Michael Penix Jr., you hold him down, who was getting Heisman hype at the time. And then you play Cam Rising, who is also a great quarterback at Utah over on that West Coast, doing good things right now. A ranked team that came in ranked. They've only lost one game up until that point, and that was to Florida. And then they go in there and they take care of that game 42-32. They beat Washington 40-32. So right now they're doing a really good job of defensively holding those really offensively strong teams to a number that they can deal with, and then put up more on the other side of the ball with the offense. And I have to give absolute credit. Chip Kelly knows what he's doing with a quarterback. He has made Dorian Thompson-Robinson raise 12% in his completion percentage. Last year, he was sitting around 62. This year, he's sitting at 74.8, 19 total touchdowns, 15 passing, 4 rushing, only 2 interceptions, and 9 of those touchdowns came in those last 2 weeks against Washington and Utah. So they're playing their best ball against their best opponents, and I have to just absolutely give credit to them for that. Team going out there and doing what they do, and I think most of that is Chip Kelly, and I hope that they continue. I think that will be a great rivalry once again, Chip Kelly versus Lincoln Riley in that game. So I'm really excited to see that, and that's what I learned for this week. Deuce, and we'll see you back on our next segment where you'll see my dad sitting right next to me right here. We're going to talk some Alabama football.